Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Ema coming to you on a Friday night as we get ready for some Saturday NBA action. And we're joined today by one Dave Loughran. Yes, that is Lofty D filling in for Adam. It has been musical chairs with the host this week. We'll be coming into the baseball stretch soon enough. I'm sure we'll shuffle the deck once again. But Dave, how are you doing? It's been several days since I had a chance to chat with you.
Yeah, man. We got a 7-game slate and one early game, Boston, Atlanta. We won't be talking that. So we got 7 games on Saturday.
All right, so here are the back-to-backs. These are the teams that are playing Friday who are also playing Saturday. We have Phoenix at Houston Friday, at New Orleans Saturday. Portland is at New Orleans. On Saturday, they will be in San Antonio. San Antonio hosting the Knicks. They will, of course, then will be hosting Portland. Washington is hosting the Wizards this evening. They will be hosting Memphis on Saturday. And then New Orleans is hosting Portland on Friday. They will be hosting Phoenix on Saturday. The only team that is playing on a back-to-back Saturday and then into Sunday is the Atlanta Hawks. As Lofty mentioned, they are playing that early game that's starting at 12:30, and then they are playing a later afternoon game on Sunday, again and in Orlando. Saturday, relatively straightforward. We've got one 12:30 game and then the 7-game main slate starting at 7. Sunday's pretty spread out, so there'll be a true nooner. There's a 1 o'clock game, a 3:30 game, a 4 o'clock game, and then the main slate will be a 4-game slate starting at 6 o'clock. So you'll get to Fast Eddie. We'll probably be doing a solo Sunday show, taking you up before lock on that. And I'm sure Josh will do some sort of early show encompassing all of the games. So Lofty, we're just going to jump right in here. Point guards, you know the drill. Heck, you and Dan Strafford invented the drill. Take it away.
All right. Well, is Dennis Smith confirmed out both games? He is, right?
I believe he is.
Yeah, I thought so too. And Frank Ntilikina also out. So,
correct.
I mean, as unfortunate as it seems, Emmanuel Mudiay is going to have to be that guy again. You know, we'll see. Obviously, we don't know exactly what type of run he's going to get in this game. They don't play. We won't have all of the information until that game's over. But I projected him for 32 minutes on Friday, so I think you have to put him somewhere around that, again, assuming both of them are out. So Emmanuel Mudiay, if you're going to get him there, then you're going to have to consider him, whether you like the guy or not. Right now, price point, what do we have Mudiay at in price? I pulled it up. Hold on, let me make sure I got it here. I lost it.
On DK, sorry, I was on the wrong screen. On DK, Mudiay is not showing up for me. Why is he not showing up?
Did you pull up the late night slate on accident or something?
Let me
because
look here.
See, this is a good start, right? This is a good start.
Wait, Luffy, they're not playing on Saturday. Did you refresh your sheet?
No, you know what I did wrong? You know what I did? Here's what I did wrong. A site that I use for injuries has updated, but it updated and it didn't take out the Friday ones yet. So it updated with the Saturday injuries and kept the Friday injuries on it as well. So great start for me, and we'll keep going.
We're leaving this in. It's Friday, Lofty.
Oh, listen. I'm not asking you to take anything out. No problem at all. Yeah, that's kind of strict because I'm looking at it. I was like, there's different slates. What is going on here? And then if he's expected to return on the 17th, that means they play 3 days. They have a triple header, which actually happened.
I did that last night with Adam. I thought that Utah was playing 3 in a row because I thought Rajon Rondo, but my mind read it as Ricky Rubio. So
there you go. Yep. Yeah, good start for me. But Russell Westbrook against Golden State. I still like this spot. Now, Kevin Durant's closer to doubtful here. So Curry is a play that I really, really like. I mean, he has not been all that great recently, you know, and the whole DeMarcus Cousins thing doesn't help him. DeMarcus Cousins had a very strong game last time out with Durant sideline, 50 fantasy points, 32 minutes. Apparently they're learning to play with him, according to some guys on that team. I think this could be the game for Curry. You know, even a pace-up spot for Golden State. it's really hard not to like him here. Doncic is point guard eligible. He proved last time out that he's not too fatigued, after shooting 1 for 9 from the free throw line. Now, he did shoot 1 of 8 last game, but he still had a huge game overall, 24, 11, and 9. He's still well underpriced on DraftKings at 8,700. And you got 7 games and a few players that are just in really favorable spots. Mitchell, I talk about him here. It's been harder for me to get to Mitchell when you have Curry priced there and like Doncic so closely priced. I think he's a very strong play, but it's difficult for me to justify it. Actually, I'd prefer, even on a back-to-back, Devin Booker against the Pelicans. That's another really favorable spot. And then outside of that's pretty much where we're at in the high end. With the lower price guys, one that stands out now that, Mike Malone has clearly decided that he's going to tighten up that rotation. Monty Morris didn't have a great game last time out, but he still played 31 minutes. So, project him for 29, 30 minutes here, and you'll probably get a decent amount of him. And aside from that, do we have any good value? I mean, Monty Morris is obviously strong value. He'll probably be pretty popular. Rubio against
Jalen Brunson, but his price is creeping up, Laffy. But
I know.
Did he learn how to shoot over the All-Star break? Is that what it was?
It's a great question. I mean, really, it was just that he wasn't shooting at all, and now it seems as though he's actually getting some volume. I don't know how much of that coincides with Tim Hardaway seeing a little bit less opportunity. You're seeing a lot more 10, 11 field goal attempt games than like 17, 18 from Hardaway. Maybe Brunson's siphoning a little bit of that usage away. That's expensive, though. I guess the problem with me, and you're right, he is playing well. I'd still probably rather just play Ricky Rubio. The question is, like, what should we expect in terms of playing time here? His minutes have been down, but he's 4,900. That's tough. I mean, it is a very good matchup, fast pace-up spot. I would expect it, matter of fact, to stay relatively close. It's an 8.5-point line, but I'm not too worried. It's just how many minutes are you going to project him for? I have him at 28 now. At 28 minutes, I would probably get a decent amount of Rubio based on what we know in terms of injuries and value right now.
Yeah, and that's one that Adam and I'll go into in particular, just because his last few games since coming back from injury have been blowouts. So he hasn't really been needed in the fourth quarter. Right. So if you project what he was kind of doing through the first half and then replicate that for the second half, you're going to pick up a few more minutes than what he has now. We'll be doing the DFS strategy show, assuming Adam does not stay out all night after the Washington Wizards game down there in D.C., but he should be joining me. If not, you're Josh Engelman, I'm sure, will jump on. We're giving Laffy the day off. Well, at least the early part of the day. You still have to do Sirius.
Yeah, we actually, there is no Sirius show. They're running a big special, draft. A big special. So for the first time in a long time, I have a day off this week.
Oh, there we are, Laffy. This is rare for you. Are you okay? Are you feeling a little nervous? This is like somebody getting out of jail and like, nobody's telling me what to do. Where are the rules?
Well, honestly, I have a day off, but I have to go and handle stuff with my dad's estate and clean that. So it's a day off from getting paid work. It's not a day off, but technically it is, I guess. But I'll be working the whole day.
All right. Back to this. Two guys I do want to point out. Mike Conley, 7,900, but he's going to get the Wizards on a back-to-back. They're hanging on by a thread to their playoff hopes. The Wizards, that is, they are losing at the moment against Charlotte, one of the teams they're trying to hang with, as both of them battle to get to the 8th seed. They're both on the outside looking in. But Alfred Payton, he'll be on a back-to-back. He is a little bit of an injury magnet himself. But we have heard that essentially Drew Holiday and Eton Moore probably are not going to come back for the rest of the season. So that's 12 games that they will be missing. You have Anthony Davis, who was arrested on Friday. Who the heck knows what's going to happen on Saturday there? So you're looking at Frank Jackson as the main backup, which scary thought in and of itself. Any thoughts in particular on Alfred Payton, who heading into Friday night's game was on back-to-back triple-doubles?
Yeah, I have no problem with Alfred Payton whatsoever. I mean, we'll continue to keep an eye on what Alvin Gentry's doing with the minutes for these starters. But as of now, I would have to assume that you're going to keep getting big minutes from Payton, and his price has come up, but I wouldn't be surprised if Davis sat again, really. And even if he doesn't, he's only playing 20 minutes. So Alfred Payton, perfectly strong, perfectly fine play here. As far as Frank Jackson goes, he's entirely dependent on scoring. He has been getting opportunity. I mean, he's jacked up 18-plus shots in 3 straight games, big minutes. You could do worse against the Phoenix Suns. And both teams, by the way, are playing their second leg of a back-to-back. So it's not like one team is going to be handicapped compared to the other. No, they're both on their second and back-to-backs. And Phoenix Suns are facing the Houston Rockets on Friday, so not exactly an easy spot for them either.
All right. Just looking at some stuff here as we move to shooting guard. So Tyreke Evans listed as questionable, but this news, that speculation looks like it came out before the other personal issues he is dealing with right now. So I don't know that he'll play. Dante Exum hurt his knee, finally gets healthy, finally makes it back up to the big show, hurts his knee. So don't know what his availability is going to be. Alan Crabb has been ruled out for the next couple games. So that doesn't change a ton there with the Nets, but it's one less guy popping into the rotation. Tyler Johnson, of course, sat out on Friday. He's been dealing with a knee injury. We'll have to see what happens with him on the back-to-back. It was just precautionary, but he is forever dinged up. Those are the only major injuries we have here at shooting guard, other than the aforementioned Drew Holiday, who we've known has been out for a long time. What are you thinking here about perhaps a DeMar DeRozan on the back-to-back hosting Portland at 8,200, and then Portland also on the back-to-back, and then let me rephrase that. Both teams on a back-to-back. Portland is coming to San Antonio. Do you like DeMar DeRozan? Do you want to drop down to someone like Jamal Murray, who has dual position eligibility going against Indiana? A bit of a slog in that game because the Pacers play pretty darn good defense. I nothing's really popping here. There are decent plays. I mean, I guess you could start at the top with Bradley Beal, but 9,300 against Memphis, they're still one of the slowest paced teams in the league. That's no fun.
Yeah. Satoransky, by the way, either got benched to start the second half or is injured because Julius Randle started ahead of him. Just something to keep in mind. Not sure how much of an impact it makes, but if it was an injury, and we don't have confirmation on that, he may have just been benched. That is very much a possibility given how awful the Washington Wizards looked in the first half, and Satoransky did not look great himself, but it wasn't just him who played poorly. Most of them, not named Bradley Beal, did. If he's out, Bradley Beal, even against Memphis, becomes even more interesting because his price came down. And as we saw with Satoransky out of the lineup, Bradley Beal is a much – he's a better per minute guy because you're seeing more ball handling work than he's already had. Makes a pretty significant difference there. So I would say that's something to keep a close watch on. And Satoransky, what was it? Bradley Beal. Did Bradley Beal hit his own teammate here?
Yeah, they both went down pretty hard. It looks like Satoransky took the brunt of it, and that could have something to do. It looks like I better turn that sound off. Looks like they both kind of hit like hip to hip or hip to midsection.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see because that now you're looking at hip pointer, you're looking at ribs, you're looking at tailbone, variety of mid-core stuff that could be hurting there on actually either one, depending on what happens. I suspect Beal looks a little bit better, and he's playing right now, but Sato could just be dealing with some whiplash-type bruising the next day that just gets stiff and doesn't unwind. So,
and if that's the case, I'll take Beal all day. I mean, I already think Beal with the price baked, the matchups baked into the price tag on DraftKings. It's pretty obvious. So that's definitely a spot where I urge you to keep a close watch on. Bradley Beal's just been outstanding. The position, though, is not great outside of that. Outside of the guys I've talked about, I think Booker is really interesting against New Orleans. I don't dislike Mitchell, but I'd rather just pay a little bit down for Devin Booker or up a little bit for Stephen Curry, who also has shooting guard eligibility. Avery Bradley's getting up there in price, played miserably last game, but if there was ever a time to go back to him, it would be here against the Wizards team. A Wizards team on the second of a back-to-back, a Wizards team that is playing a top 5 pace since the deadline, and also has one of the worst defensive backcourts in the league. Avery Bradley is not the worst guy to go back to here, despite a bad game last time out. And then finally, Klay Thompson. Last guy here that I have any real interest in would be Klay Thompson. You mentioned DeRozan. I don't see the need to get there. There's enough guys around his price that I probably won't be going there. With Klay Thompson, he does see a significant uptick in usage, especially going back to the start of last season with Kevin Durant off the court. DeMarcus Cousins makes a difference, but at the same time, Kevin Durant being a 30% usage player also makes a really big difference. And Klay Thompson is going to put up work. He's playing really well lately. He's certainly a streaky player. And the last game with Kevin Durant out, he put up 30 points, 43 fantasy points in 36 minutes. I like Klay Thompson quite a bit as well.
All right, let's use our former Washington Wizard, Kelly Oubre Jr. as our switch as we get on over here from shooting guard to small forward. He is, as we've mentioned, several teams on the back-to-back, but both these squads are. He has been fantastic, actually, now that he is unabashedly taking shots and only really having to contend with rookie DeAndre Ayton and, of course, Devin Booker for offense, unlike dealing with Bradley Beal, John Wall, and all of the other veterans he had to on the Wizards. So I like him. His price has ticked up a little bit, $6,100, but the multi-position eligibility on DraftKings means that he is eligible for 5 spots. So there's a good chance you can get him into your team. Say hello to Luka Doncic again. Love the fact that he's small forward eligible, 8,700. Lofty, we like that. How are you feeling about one PG-13, Paul George, hitting some three-pointers, at least in the last 2 games, 10 of 23 from the field last game, 9 of 18 prior to that, was in a dismal slump where he was shooting about 30% for 4 or 5 straight games. What do you think about George? Has he turned the corner? Because it is an intriguing matchup going against the likely Kevin Durant-less Dubs on Saturday night.
I mean, it seems like he's back on track. Now, keep in mind, Andre Iguodala defensively is as good as anybody when it comes to wing defense. So I don't think it's a significant upgrade for Paul George. But yeah, he went on a dreadful stretch there of it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games where he was brutal, and now he's put up 2 solid games in a row, shooting a combined 9 for 17 from 3-point range, and he's getting to the line a lot too. I don't have an issue with Paul George here at 9,700. I mean, are you going to George or are you going to Doncic will be the question. And on DraftKings where Doncic is small forward eligible and you're getting $1,000 discount, I'll take that all day. No problem. I'll take that any day of the week. To me, it just seems to make sense. I think Oubre is too cheap as well. You're getting 30-plus minutes from him each night. We'll see what the deal is with Tyler Johnson. That could help him as well if he's out. 6,100 is a discount on Oubre. It's not a particularly deep position either. I mean, there's not a lot here. You can look from top to bottom, unless you're talking about Kenrich Williams and Karis LeVert and Tim Hardaway. You're not going to have a whole lot to love. I think this is probably a spot where I end up paying up for, at least in that 8K range. Oubre is a decent option there. But then you're getting into the Mikal Bridges, the $3,800 Bridges, the Josh Jacksons, the Darius Millers, these type of guys. And there's just so much volatility. Dorian Finney-Smith had been playing 35 minutes per game. Then he came off the bench and finished with like 5 fantasy points the other night. All of these guys are liable to let you down. The last one I'll throw out there, he was good to me the other day. It was kind of a last-minute thing, just tossing him in there. I would not expect to see anything close to this tonight, but if he gets the minutes, he's going to shoot. C.J. Miles is still close to minimum salary, facing one of the worst, again, backcourt defenses in the league in Washington. Whether he's playing at the 2 or 3, he should still get a decent amount of minutes on a bad team that's got nothing to play for. I suppose you could do worse than Miles all the way down there at the bottom.
Yeah, he was on my cash game team that night. Luffy,
nice.
Just kind of a throw, and he was the last cheap guy. I had 3 other players score 17 fantasy points or less on DraftKings, and I still cashed, and I min-cashed with that lineup in most of the tournaments. That was that really low-scoring night.
We must have had similar lineups because I cashed in tournaments with C.J. Miles, but I also had who was it? I had 2 other guys that had dreadful games.
Yeah, Ross was one of them, and there was somebody else.
Who?
Terrence Ross.
I didn't have Ross. No. But Avery Bradley had
Oh,
like
yep, I had
6.
him. Yep.
And then there was one more. I wish I remembered who it was, but it was dreadful. I mean, it was terrible.
Let's see. I had Terrence Ross. Oh, PJ Tucker. You may have gone that route.
Definitely not.
Oh, come on, minutes don't
Yeah.
always equate to fantasy production.
Yeah, those minutes sometimes are not enough.
Oh, yes. So that was my one there. Ross, PJ Tucker, and Josh Jackson. Those were the three, and I had Miles offsetting them. So,
man, that's gonna drive me nuts.
oh, craziness. Well, while you're peeking at that, do not forget that you can go to the Osimo Twitter homepage. Look for the pinned tweet. It's the spring break giveaway. You and 2 of your friends can have the opportunity to win 1 month of Osimo premium content. All you have to do is go to that tweet, retweet it, tag your 2 friends that you want to bring along for your 1 month prize, and then tell us which sporting event, past or present, that you would love to see. We've talked about a variety of them with Adam and myself. I have mentioned I would like to see, if it's a future one, I'd like to see the Nationals and the Mariners play Game 1 of that World Series. The 2 teams I root for, the 2 teams that have never been in the World Series. Alex Baker, Osmo himself, says the Malice and the Palace would be the one he would want to go to. Lofty, if you could go to one event, past or present, what would you like to go to? Perhaps an Eagles Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be the Birds Super Bowl. Has to be.
All right, easy enough.
By the way, Jared Allen.
Oh yeah, he was like 4,900 that night, and I fortunately didn't play him, but he was quite popular. These are all the names we're saying. They're also the reasons that we were able to cash, because the scores were so damn low.
This is true.
All right, let's rein ourselves back in here. Again, you can get the DFS NBA strategy show on Saturday morning. Adam and I will take a more leisurely walk through these 7 games. That's where we'll get into some of the matchups. Plus, with so many teams in action, we could have some additional injuries that occur as we head over here to power forward. Julius Randle against the Phoenix Suns. I love this matchup. This will be the 3rd time he has played against them. He's averaging just shy of 40 fantasy points in those. Of course, that's no precursor to future production, but come on. Phoenix not really playing defense, and who knows who's going to even suit up at this point for the Pellies. So I want to start my lineups, or if I'm spending at this position, I want to start with him. Kevin Love's the question mark, Lofty. He has been playing solid, but sort of dipped back down in his last game. Didn't take as many shots, and got in a little bit of foul trouble. So it looks like his minutes were about 6 shy of what we were sort of getting used to. Decent matchup for him, at least, going against Dallas. I mean, the likes of Dirk, Maxi Kleber, etc., aren't really going to slow him down. Any interest in him as somewhat of a tournament pivot, or do you think just he's more or less capped at 45 fantasy points, and that's not going to get us there?
No, I don't think he's capped there. Look, it was a massive blowout. He only played 24 minutes. And then they won in blowout fashion over Toronto, and he actually didn't need to do much, right? So I would expect him to get right back to where he was before. I'm not too worried about that. They lost by what, 29 points to Orlando, and they won against Toronto by 25, 2 straight games. I have no problems with Love. Plus, he's come back down to a more reasonable price point, 7,800. I don't have an issue. Does that mean that he's, a top option of mine? No, definitely not a top play, but he's in play, and he's a tournament option for sure. Julius Randle, as you pointed out, against Phoenix, very strong play. You have to like him. I mean, it's right now I have him projected as the 2nd highest just raw fantasy points behind Paul George, who has, small forward eligibility. Not including the small forwards, I have Julius Randle at the top. Anthony Davis, this is the interesting one. He's been insanely productive with these, limited minutes, and now he's facing the Phoenix Suns. What do you do with this? Do you consider Anthony Davis? My answer would be you're probably better off just playing Kevin Love, a little bit more expensive, and hoping he plays 32 minutes, because he can easily give you 50 fantasy points. We saw him go for 55 the other day. But man, Anthony Davis has made it tough, because if you could argue that Anthony Davis has been a great cash play recently, because every night you're getting 40 to 45 from him. And he was doing it at 68, 6,700. It's pretty wild, actually. It's just in tournaments, you're going to have a tough time getting there because what's the upside there? Where's his ceiling at? Even if he's a 2 fantasy point per minute guy, you're still not getting much higher than 40 unless he absolutely explodes. And then in that case, it's still rare that he's got, 2.6 fantasy points. You're going to need something crazy like that to really get there. But when he was, he's 6,500, you can easily win tournaments with 43, 44 fantasy points from Davis. I think you could probably say the same at 71. It's just, ceiling wise, you're not getting the 55, 60 fantasy point game unless he goes nuclear, which we can't exactly predict.
And the biggest thing with him, Loppy, has been the lack of free throws. It's really hampered him in his stretch coming off the bench, or not off the bench, but playing in the first quarter and third quarter, playing 20.
You think he just hasn't been as aggressive too, Yeah. Like I would think so. That the aggressiveness, the aggression is not where it would have been if they were actually playing to win games at this point.
Yeah, and I would also say, interesting point there on the cash game aspect. I haven't really had him in many lineups for the salary cap, but he's been hanging around in tier 4, 5, and 6 on the DraftKings tiers games. So you can find him there. He doesn't hide because his per game average is still up around 55, 56, and that's what they sort by. So he stands out. But I've had a couple games times where people haven't played him, and he's done well because the other guys in that tier generally are going to score 25 to 35.
Right.
Been getting to 40. But the one thing I would say is don't worry about this extra $300 or $400 if you had success playing him in cash like Lofty mentioned and you want to keep doing that on DraftKings. It's fine. This is March NBA. Weird stuff's going to happen. We will get some cheap guys. That $200 or $300 is not going to make a difference for the increase. So if you want to play him, you'll find a way because this is a matchup where you do want to play him with Phoenix on the back-to-back and him sitting. So if he is playing, and it's the first game of the main slate at 7 o'clock, we'll know if he's starting or not.
By the way, Julius Randle just posted 21 points in the first quarter against Portland.
21 fantasy points or 21 real points?
21 real points.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Wow.
21 real points.
His best Klay Thompson impersonation.
Yeah. I mean, that is insane.
I got nothing to add. That is pretty darn impressive. As we continue on here and wrap things up, we're going to move along to center. Again, this is the early.
By the way, there aren't a lot of just because we didn't spend much time on power forward. There really isn't. There isn't much in terms of unless you see anybody outside of like the Trevor Arizas and Kenrich Williams, like I talked about. I don't really see any good value at power forward at all right now, unless
correct.
Maybe Maxi Kleber if he plays another 30 minutes or so.
We're going to need the minutes. He's popped up. I played him in his last game at 3,700. He was a key to me having a great night because he just happened to slot in the last spot there. And then that was the Toronto night where everybody was playing 3 or 4 Toronto guys.
Right.
But I think he's still fine at 4,400 going against Cleveland. 4,400 against another matchup, I'm not so sure just because if the minutes aren't there. But I think he can still get us 20 or 25 fantasy points, upside to 30. So that seems reasonable at this point in time. But you're right. There's not a ton of good guys because you're starting to look and you're like, all right, well, Sabonis, I don't know what he's playing because he has, seemingly Turner's been getting more minutes. Bobby Portis back-to-back in the slog against Memphis. Not that great. Jabari Parker, same issue. Draymond Green. Who knows what's happening with Draymond Green, but they have Steven Adams and they got Jeremy Grant, who aren't horrible defenders. So, or just can slow things down for him. Plus, Boogie's taking all the shots and Draymond isn't anymore. So a lot of question marks there, but there's plenty of options, just not ones that stand out. How are you feeling about, since Adam's not here, Nikolai Jokic going against Miles Turner? He has slipped under 5 figures. He is 9,600, Lofty.
He's garbage.
He's been garbage? Didn't he win the game?
Last
night? He had to show Doncic what was up? 43 fantasy points? Yeah, he hasn't been hitting his high ceiling yet.
Look, when I say garbage, I don't mean real life they're not producing and helping their teams. That was a very good game, by the way. What I mean is that he's not producing fantasy points the way he should be. Look, he shot 9 times. I love Nikola Jokic, and sometimes, I may get a little bit aggressive with my wording, but really, if you've been playing, and the reason that it's important is if you've been playing Jokic at, 10K, 10.5, 10.6, you've been pretty disappointed. Let me just read off his fantasy points from his last 7, okay? 41, 49, 44, 51, 39, 38, 43.
The problem with that, his season-long average is just shy of 50, and I only heard a 49 and 150 within that range, Lofty. That's not good.
Right, and here's the thing. I'm not saying that Jokic can't go out there and post monster numbers. He's an incredibly talented, one of the best players in the league, arguably the most all-around versatile, well-rounded center in the league. But, defensively, there's a big argument to be made against that. What I'm talking about is look at his field goal attempts. 9, 14, 10, 5, 14, 11. I mean, he did this earlier this year, and I'm not sure why it is. Like, is it because the team's getting healthy entirely? Maybe, but is Gary Harris really going to is Harris really going to siphon away that much? He's not really taking that many shots. His usage isn't that significant. Paul Millsap's been good. His last couple games, he caught fire, so I think that certainly had something to do with it. But he's not really the kind of guy that's going to do that. So with all of that said, I still like Jokic a lot here at 9,600. When everyone jumps off of him, it's probably the best time to jump back on, especially because he can give you 70 fantasy points and score only 20 real points. I absolutely like him, but it is important to note that there are some, I don't want to say red flags here, but there are some caution flags at least that I think should be looked a little bit more into.
Yeah, and then he's one of the standout expensive options. For him, you drop down and we'll just look at pure centers only, but it's $1,600 less to Rudy Gobert.
Right.
It's $2,000 less to Cousins. I
do love Gobert though, and I do like Cousins quite a bit. I have Gobert ahead of Cousins just based on the matchup from a rebounding standpoint, a points in the paint standpoint where Brooklyn really struggles. But I mean, there's no question Cousins benefits immensely from Kevin Durant being out of the lineup. Again, 30% usage gap or void without Kevin Durant. It's huge. And Cousins played 32 minutes. They got the win over Houston. I mean, I can only assume that he's going to play another 30 minutes. And imagine, I don't care what team he's on, 30 minutes. He could be on the All-Star team. If Cousins gets 32 minutes, I'll pay $7,600 for him.
Yep. Excellent point. And then down kind of on the discount end, you've got a bunch of options here in good matchups. I wish some of their prices were a little cheaper to make them stand out, but Dwight Powell going against Cleveland at $6K, not the worst option ever. You've got Noah and Jonas Valanciunas going against the Wizards, who really don't rebound. They don't play defense, and they don't really have anybody with size because Jan Mahamney doesn't make it off the bench anymore. So those guys, I think, are okay. Wrapping it up here, Lofty, if you were to think, we're moving back to kind of the power forward, but we're sticking with the Utah Jazz. Do you think this is a Derek Favors kind of matchup, or is this a Jake Crowder kind of matchup going against Brooklyn here?
I mean, I would rather just play the guy who's been really good lately. I hate to have the recency bias, but forgive me. Now, Favors hasn't been bad, or Crowder hasn't been bad. Here's the difference: they are so close in price that I'd much rather take the player who's a better rebounder, a better overall scorer, and a better per minute guy. So it'd be a different story if Crowder was still 4K, but he's not. He's up to 5,100, and that makes the decision a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, and that's where I landed as well. I just wanted to get your take on that one, only because I'm a huge Jay Crowder fan, but I'm looking at this going, I'll scrape together a couple $100 and I'll get to Derek Favors. And no, I don't care that this was the team that drafted him. That was like 11 years ago.
No one cares about that.
Deron Williams was involved in that trade.
Right.
He's not even in the league, so come on.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that is hardly important. Plus, the game's not even in Brooklyn.
Semantics, Lofty. Semantics.
Plus, what type of revenge do you have against the Nets. Come on now.
They're
You should
not
be
even.
sending them gift baskets and thank you cards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. With that, we're going to get on out of here. This, of course, was the Early Bird podcast. If you have not yet signed up for Osmo, you can get any 1 month package. That also does, in fact, include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on at half off if you use the promo code EARLYBIRD at checkout. All one word, EARLYBIRD gets you 50% off any 1 month package. You, again, will have multiple shows coming in on Saturday. You will have the strategy show with Adam and myself in the morning. You will have Live Before Lock with Fast Eddie Fear featured on Saturday night. You're going to get some articles. You're going to get some projections, all the good stuff there behind the paywall. Definitely check us out. You can follow Laffy at Laffy_D on Twitter. I am at EMACDFS, and it is Osmo_COM. Check out that pinned tweet and see how you can win a free month of Osmo premium content for yourself and 2 of your friends. Good luck, gamers.